Okay, so get this. We're talking about food that can last, like, forever.
Forever.
Yeah, that's what they say at least.
Huh, interesting.
Today we're going deep on Amish water bath canning.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
This YouTube video we found claims this method can make food never expire.
Never.
Never. I mean, it's probably hyperbole.
Yeah, probably.
But still, it's a pretty bold claim.
For sure.
The video is called Amish Water Bath Canning Method that makes food never expire. It's from this channel called Frugal Solutions.
Okay.
And they actually show, like, jars of jam and pickles from, like, decades ago that are supposedly still good.
Wow, that's amazing if it's true.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So that's our mission today, to unpack this method, see how it works, and whether it really can make food last that long.
Sounds good.
So first things first, what exactly is water bath canning?
Well, it's a pretty simple process, actually. You basically submerge jars of food in boiling water to kill off any bacteria.
So it's all about sterilizing the food.
Right. And then as the jars cool, a vacuum seal forms. Ah, I see. So that prevents new contaminants from getting in.
Exactly. It's like creating this little airtight ecosystem for your food to stay fresh for a really long time.
So it's not magic, it's science.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the Amish part of this? The video seems to suggest that their method is, like, especially effective.
Well, the Amish are known for their self-sufficient lifestyle,
Right?
and they have this deep respect for tradition.
Makes sense.
So when it comes to water bath canning, they take a very meticulous approach.
So every step is done with, like, extra care.
Exactly. From sterilizing the jars to maintaining a perfect rolling boil, they really pay attention to every detail.
So it's almost like their whole way of life is intertwined with these preservation techniques.
Absolutely. For the Amish, water bath canning isn't just a hobby, it's a crucial part of their food security.
And it could be why their preserved foods last so long.
Yeah, the video even showed examples of 20-year-old strawberry jam and 15-year-old pickles that were still edible. Wow, okay, I'm officially intrigued, so let's get into the specifics. What are the key steps that make this Amish method so effective?
Well, it all starts with the jars.
The jars.
Yeah, you have to make sure the jars and lids are completely sterile.
Oh, right. Any lingering bacteria could ruin the whole thing.
Exactly.
What else?
Another crucial step is leaving enough headspace in the jars.
Headspace.
Yeah, you don't want to fill them all the way to the top.
Why not?
Well, the food needs room to expand during the heating process.
Ah, that makes sense.
And then as the jars cool, that headspace allows a proper vacuum seal to form.
So it's all about understanding those pressure changes.
Right.
Okay, and then there's the boiling water bath itself.
Yes, that's a key part of the process.
What's so special about the way they do the boiling water bath?
Well, they emphasize maintaining a rolling boil for the entire time.
Not just a simmer.
Nope. It needs to be vigorous to ensure that the heat is evenly distributed throughout the jars.
So temperature control is key.
Exactly too low, and the bacteria might survive too high, and you could compromise the quality of the food.
Gotcha. So the Amish really know their stuff when it comes to this.
Oh, yeah, they've got it down to a science. They're also careful not to overcrowd the canner so that each jar gets enough heat.
So all those little details add up to make a big difference.
Absolutely. And the results speak for themselves. Those decades-old jars of preserved food are proof of that.
Okay, so the whole food lasting for years or even decades thing is still kind of mind-blowing. Can we dive a little deeper into, like, the science behind why this works?
Sure. So basically, water bath canning creates an environment that's hostile to bacteria, yeasts, and molds. Those are the things that cause food to spoil.
Okay.
The heat from the boiling water kills off those microorganisms.
So it's kind of like pasteurization.
It is similar, but there's an extra layer of protection with canning.
How so?
Well, the vacuum seal that's created as the jar is cool prevents any new contaminants from getting in.
So it's like a time capsule for food.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing that such a simple technique can have such a big impact on how long food lasts.
It really is a testament to human ingenuity and our understanding of natural preservation methods.
And the fact that this technique has been passed down through generations, especially in communities like the Amish, is pretty remarkable.
It speaks to the power of tradition and the importance of preserving that knowledge.
You know what's really cool about this method is that it's so accessible, you don't need any fancy equipment or preservatives.
Right. It's just jars, lids, a big pot, and some heat.
Anyone can do this.
Exactly.
It's kind of empowering in a way. It allows you to get control of your food preservation and be less reliant on store-bought products.
I agree. And in a world where food security is becoming more and more important, these skills feel more valuable than ever.
Totally. So by embracing these traditional methods, we can become more self-sufficient and resilient. This deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to the possibilities of water bath canning. It's simple, effective, and connects us to those who came before us who understood the importance of preserving food.
And it all starts with those sterile jars and that perfect rolling boil.
I'm starting to think this Amish water bath canning method might be the key to a pantry full of delicious home-preserved goodness.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay, so now I'm ready for the next level. Tell me more about this fascinating world of food preservation. The video mentioned something about lost superfoods and wartime preservation techniques that sounds like a whole other rabbit hole to explore.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating topic.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's dive in.
So these lost superfoods, it's interesting. A lot of them, they kind of fell out of favor, not because they were less nutritious,
Oh, really?
but because they were harder to preserve using modern methods.
So we kind of traded nutritional value for convenience.
Yeah, in some cases, our modern food system, it really prioritizes shelf stability and mass production.
Which means sacrificing some of the good stuff.
Sometimes, yeah.
So could we actually improve our diets by, like, rediscovering these lost superfoods and using methods like water bath canning?
It's definitely possible. A lot of these forgotten foods are packed with vitamins and minerals that are often lacking in modern diets.
Okay, I'm hooked. Give me some examples. What kind of
Yeah.
things are we talking about here?
Well, one example is dandelions.
Dandelions.
Yeah, I know they're usually seen as a weed,
Right.
but they're actually really nutritious, full of vitamins A, C, and K, and also iron and potassium.
Huh. Oh, I never knew that.
Traditionally, people would eat the greens in salads or cook them like spinach,
Okay.
and they would roast the roots and grind them into a coffee substitute.
Dandelion coffee. That's a new one for me.
It was pretty common in times of scarcity, actually.
Interesting.
And it's actually making a comeback now in some health food circles.
I'll have to try that sometime.
You should. It's earthy and a little bitter, but it's caffeine-free.
What other lost superfoods are out there?
Well, there's purslane.
Purslane, what's that?
It's a succulent that grows wild in a lot of places.
Oh, okay. People usually just think it's a weed,
Right.
but it's actually one of the best plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And it's also got lots of vitamins A, C, and E.
Okay, so how do we bring these forgotten foods back into our diets?
That's where traditional preservation methods come in. Things like drying, fermenting, and water bath canning can help us extend the shelf life of these nutritious foods so we can enjoy them year-round.
So it's not just about preserving like summer produce.
Right. It's about rediscovering and preserving a whole world of forgotten flavors and nutrients.
And it ties back to what we were talking about with the Amish.
Exactly. They've kept these traditions alive. They're preserving not just food, but a part of our culinary heritage.
It's like a culinary time capsule.
I like that.
The video also mentioned wartime preservation techniques.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of food history.
So during times of war or scarcity, when fresh food was hard to come by, people had to get creative with preservation.
Exactly. They had to find ways to make their supplies last. Did they have special wartime versions of water bath canning?
Not really. They rely on a lot of different methods, many of which had been used for generations.
Like what?
Drying, smoking, salting, fermenting, those were all common techniques.
So nothing too fancy.
Nope, they didn't require refrigeration or any special equipment.
Just ingenuity.
Exactly. People were turning their root cellars and pantries into these mini food factories, using every scrap and preserving every ounce of nourishment they could.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you give me some specific examples of those wartime techniques?
Sure, one interesting one is drying.
Drying.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest preservation methods, and it was super important during wartime.
What do they dry?
Pretty much anything, fruits, vegetables, herbs, even meats.
To keep them from spoiling.
Exactly.
People still dry food today, but it's not that common.
Did they have any special techniques back then?
Well, they would often use the sun and wind to dry their food. They'd spread fruits and vegetables on rooftops or hang herbs in attics to dehydrate naturally.
And in colder climates, they would hang meat strips near fireplaces or wood stoves.
To dry them out.
Yeah, and it would infuse them with smoky flavors.
So it was like functional and flavorful.
Exactly. Even in times of hardship, they found ways to make their food taste good.
It's inspiring how resourceful people can be when they have to be.
It's a good reminder that we have so much knowledge to draw upon when it comes to food preservation.
And these old techniques are still relevant today.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to see food preservation in a whole new light. It's not just about making food last longer. It's about connecting with our past and embracing resourcefulness.
And honoring the traditions that have sustained people for generations.
Exactly.
Right.
So we've talked about water bath canning, lost superfoods, wartime preservation.
Yeah.
What's the connection between all of these things?
I think the common thread is resourcefulness.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah, whether it's the Amish carefully preserving their harvest, or our ancestors drawing food in times of scarcity, or people today rediscovering forgotten superfoods, there's this shared desire to make the most of what we have.
It's about taking control of our food supply and not letting anything go to waste.
Exactly, and it's about valuing traditional knowledge and finding ways to use it in our modern lives.
This deep dive has been amazing. We've explored the science, the history, the culture of food preservation. It's more than just a practical skill. It's a way of life.
It's about honoring nature and finding ways to make its bounty last.
I love that this conversation has really made me want to learn more about these techniques and try them out myself.
That's great to hear.
I'm already picturing jars of homemade preserves lining my pantry shelves.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a new lost superfood along the way.
That would be amazing. But before we get too carried away with our canning dreams, let's circle back to that book you mentioned earlier, the one about lost superfoods and wartime preservation.
Oh yeah, that one.
What else can you tell me about it?
Well, the video didn't give too many details,
Right.
but it definitely got me curious. The idea that there's this whole world of forgotten foods and techniques out there waiting to be rediscovered is pretty exciting.
It's like a treasure hunt.
It is.
And I bet there are some valuable lessons we can learn from those who came before us.
Oh, for sure. They faced a lot of the same challenges we do today: climate change, resource depletion,
Uh-huh.
the need for sustainable food systems.
So their knowledge could be really helpful to us now.
Absolutely. It's like looking to the past for inspiration and guidance for the future.
I love that it's like we're not alone in this.
Exactly. We have a long history of human ingenuity and resilience to learn from.
This is what I love about these deep dives. We start with one topic and end up exploring so many different ideas.
It's all about making those connections.
So this deep dive has really opened my eyes to the world of food preservation. It's about history, flavor, resourcefulness, sustainability.
It's about taking control of our food supply and honoring the traditions that have helped us survive for centuries.
I'm feeling really inspired. I want to learn more and start experimenting with some of these techniques myself.
That's awesome. And who knows, maybe our next deep dive will be all about our canning adventures.
Now, that's an episode I would definitely tune in for. This whole deep dive has really got me thinking, about our relationship with food.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
We started with Amish water bath canning, and then we talked about lost superfoods and wartime preservation.
It's all connected in a way.
It is. It really is. Like all these traditional methods, they kind of challenge how we think about food today.
Yeah, in our modern world, we're so used to convenience and having everything available all the time.
Right. Like I can get strawberries in December and tomatoes in February.
Exactly. We don't really think about the seasons anymore,
And we become so reliant on processed foods.
which often lack the nutrition and flavor of fresh food.
Exactly. So what if we shifted our mindset? What if we went back to a more seasonal way of eating?
That would be a huge change.
It would, but think about it. We could plan our meals around what's locally in season.
That would be more sustainable, for sure.
Right, we'd reduce our reliance on transportation and all those energy-intensive farming practices.
And we'd waste less food.
Yeah, instead of throwing away wilting greens or overripe fruit, we could preserve them.
Exactly.
It's like we start to appreciate food more, as this gift from nature.
Instead of just another thing we buy at the store.
Right, it's about reconnecting with that.
And that's where these traditional preservation techniques come in.
Water bath, canning, drying, fermenting.
They give us the power to control our food supply and reconnect with the earth.
And let's be real, those home-preserved foods, they just taste better.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like a jar of homemade tomato sauce or those tangy pickles.
It's a whole different level of flavor.
It really is. There's something magical about taking those fresh ingredients and transforming them into something that will last.
It's like a connection to the past,
It is. We're carrying on these traditions that have been around for generations.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's not just about making food last longer.
It's about so much more.
It's about sustainability and resilience and tradition.
It's about taking control of our food and honoring the knowledge that has been passed down to us.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this?
I hope they feel inspired to give food preservation a try.
Yeah, even if it's just something small like making a batch of jam or trying out a new fermenting recipe.
Exactly. It's about taking that first step and seeing where it leads you.
There's a whole community of people out there who are passionate about food preservation.
And they're always happy to share their knowledge and experience.
So to our listeners, If you're intrigued by any of this, if you want to learn more about these techniques,
Don't be afraid to dive in.
there are so many resources available, and it's a really rewarding experience.
You might just discover a new passion.
That's a great way to put it.
Uh,
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of food preservation.
it's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Happy preserving, everyone.